Isn't this a new day? Make a move, doing things a new way. A new way. 'Cause this is our world, and this is our time. These are our plans, we're gonna let them shine. This is our place in the human race. And we won't stop dreaming. No, we won't stop dreaming. Look ahead, we can see forever. You and me doing it together. Light it up, we can be a million stars. Look at us, don't you see we've come so far? Yeah, we've come so far. 'Cause this is our world, and this is our time. And these are our plans, we're gonna let them shine. This is our place in the human race. And we won't stop dreaming. No, we won't stop dreaming. Standing at the crossroads, feeling how the wind blows. We can soar above the clouds. Every moment has a heartbeat, and every breath feeling so sweet. And who can say what happens now? 'Cause this is our world, this is our time. These are our plans, we're gonna let them shine. This is our place in the human race. And we won't stop dreaming. No, we won't stop dreaming. This is our world, and this is our time. And these are our plans, we're gonna let them shine. This is our place in the human race. And we won't stop dreaming. No, we won't stop dreaming. We won't stop dreaming.
Welcome everybody. Top of the morning to you. Welcome to your Maximized Living Makeover. For those of you I have not met, my name's Dr. Chris Carr, Chiropractic Doc down the street from here. And I am so excited for today. 2 rules, just like any makeovers, by show of hands. How many of you have been to one of our makeovers before? So you know what to expect, about 40% of the room. A lot of interaction. A couple things we'll go over today can help change not only your life, but you can pass this on, help change the life of somebody else. So 2 rules, just like any event we do. We want to have fun, we want to play hard. Because the harder you play in here, the harder you play out. Help me. Come on out there. Don't make me do exercise right away. So what we're going to go over today, a lot of nutrition protocols. We're going to go over a lot of the exercise management protocols. For those of you who have had cancer, a lot of survivors in here, we're going to pay homage to you as well. The overall goal from today is make a couple changes. Don't worry about doing 20, 30, 40 things that we go over today and try to change that next week, because 2-3 weeks down the road, it's going to be out of sight, out of mind. You're going to get frustrated. We're going to want to move on. We have a couple of our vendors, some of our favorite vendors here. At the break we're going to do here in a little bit, you can get a chance to meet all of them and see just what they have. We have a resource table here. Some of you wait for these events with the huge discounts we have on supplements. And guests that are here, thank that person who brought you. They care enough about you to hear this information. And the only thing I ask from all of you is this information, pass it on. Don't keep it to yourself. So that being stated, Where are we at today with cancer? When we look at it back in about 43 years ago, Nixon signed the National Cancer Act. And what that was, it was a vow to fight and beat cancer. Billions and billions of dollars have been spent, a bunch of research centers, okay, tons and tons of work have been put into this, but where are we at today? So for those of you who watch the NFL, you see the guys in pink cleats. For those of you who might have been to KFC, might see that pink chicken bucket. For those of you who go to Panera, it's a bad picture. Okay, you see the heart with the bread. So I love survivors, I love hope, I love courage. What I have a problem with is that when we sell all this, and it's just awareness but no action. So what has really changed currently is this. This was the cover most recently of People magazine. Everybody know who this is? So this is the October issue of People. She's going through this right now. Cancer does not care who you are. It does not care about class, does not care about race, does not care about religion. It will affect each and every one of us at some point in our lives. If it's not you, it's going to be 1 in 2 males, 1 in 3 females are currently being diagnosed. So if it's not you, if it's not your best friend, you're going to have a best friend that's being affected by it or somebody in their family. We never think it's going to be us until it's us. We never think that diagnosis is coming at us. So not only her, so you think about others, Steve Jobs, okay, Sharon Osbourne, John McCain. Okay, it goes on and on and on and on. So the stats are scary. It's the leading cause of death in Canada. It's the second leading cause in kids between 5 and 14. Think about that. Second leading cause of death is getting to the kids. Pediatric cancer. Right now, global cancer, if you look at that bottom stat, this is what should be scary. They're expecting it over the next 14 years to get 75% worse between now and 2030. So you really think 75% worse? We're already at 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women. So what we need to think about is we need to start making some changes. Because what we're doing now obviously is not working here in this country. So right away, to never get or reverse cancer, you have to know a couple of different things. 1, what it is. Number 2 is what causes it. So what actually cancer is and what it is not. So when we get affected by this, and God willing, if we do, we obviously don't want that to happen, but we don't want to react out of fear. Because sometimes when we react out of fear, we can make rash decisions that are not actually the right ones to take. And we want to know what causes it. So I were to ask all of you, how many of you think it's caused by our genes? Anyone think it's only about 5% of all cancers think it's caused from genes. 98% of all cancers are an acidic form of cancer, which comes from what's called epigenetics. What epigenetics is, that's your body's ability to change through lifestyle. So we used to think back in the day, my dad had cancer, my mom had cancer, my great-grandmother had cancer, my grandfather had cancer. I'm getting it. Those are the genes I was given. What research has shown is through epigenetics is that you can change your genes. You can change your DNA through your lifestyle. So just like you can work your way into cancer, you can surely work your way out of cancer. And that's what we want to talk about today. How we work our way so we don't become one of the statistics. What can we do? So right now, cancer is very simple. And by definition, originally just started off, we were just one single cell. That's all we are. And then we multiplied and everything took place in our body. Think about it, we're just a bunch of cells. Cancer occurs when a group of cells they just do not die. Every cell has a cell life and a cell death, except cancer cells, that cell death never comes. And they just keep on going and going and going and going. So what that's called, so every cell has a cell life and it dies at a certain point. So just some real basic terms here, but it's called apoptosis. Everybody say apoptosis. Apoptosis. Gotta love it. So that's what that is. Every cell has a cell life cycle and it dies at a certain point. Now, from last year, if you came last year, this is some new information. There's this P53 gene, and I'm going to be very, very simple on the science, but that's responsible, this is the gene that's responsible for destroying the cells in your body. So we want that P53 alive and well in our body. When this is not activated, cells simply do not die. And why are they not activated? The nutrition you bring in, the stress we lead, the exercise we don't do, the nerve supply that's cut off. And what happens? Those cells don't die, multiply, 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 and what eventually happens is simply cancer starts to develop. And there's going to be a bunch of stages that will actually happen before this cancer develops into what we do not want. This is probably my favorite slide that I always go through, and it's what makes up a healthy cell to a cancer cell. And it's very basic. And if you can live as much as you can on the left side of this screen, you're going to be in good shape. What a healthy cell is simply is it uses oxygen for fuel. Seems simple enough. Just it needs oxygen and a lot of it. So we have to make sure we're exercising the right way. If we're exercising inappropriately or not at all, obviously no oxygen is getting into our body, so no fuel. That tank is running on low or empty. Number 2, a healthy cell does not use sugar as fuel. The standard American diet, refined carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates, white flour, white bread, white blah, blah, blah. That's what our diets consist of. Simply, we just don't want to use sugar for fuel. We want to live in a slightly alkaline environment. 98% of all cancers are acidic cancers. So you can do something called a pH test. Sunnybridge, which is one of our partners here today, they sell these. They're litmus tests. They're saliva tests. It's a piece of paper. You put some saliva in the cup, you dip in it, you put your paper in there, and then it will change color accordingly to where your pH levels are at. We're going to go pH. We're going to go a little bit more on the pH here down the road. But you want to be in a slightly more alkaline environment. If you're acidic, all the things we just touched on are acidic. From the stress, to the food, to the exercise, to the nerve supply, to the toxicity. You need to have proper nerve supply. You take all these things into account, and now you're not a cancer creator, you are now a cancer killer, like Dr. Majors was in his book most of you got on the way in. Vice versa now, the cancer cells, what we do not want to do, but unfortunately where we know a lot of our friends and families fit into, we don't fit in here. We're on that right side. Sugar for fuel, no oxygen. Okay. Lives in an acidic environment, no nerve supply, we're toxic across the board. And then what happens? Cancer, you're just adding fuel to that fire. It's like putting kerosene heat on that bonfire, and it's just going to explode. And eventually, that bill is going to come due. The problem with cancer is when you're diagnosed, we're not sick just on that day they told us. We're sick upwards between 8 to 12 years before early detection even shows up. And that's early detection. So think about that. Don't come to my house when I'm 8 years into this thing. Come to me and tell me at day 1 that the body's starting to break down. So to simplify this, this is going to be as advanced as I get today in regard to terminology. But if you could see that this is how this works across the board, then we know what causes these things down the road. So we know we have a normal cell in our body. The next thing we want to think of, so if we've ever worked out before, has anyone ever gotten that callus on their hands from working out? Right? We can all see some heads shaking. You work out, or if you work with your hands a lot, you might get a callus on that part of your hand. What that's actually happening is your cells are multiplying in that area. So let's use our GI tract, for example. Okay? And let's just say we start eating some of that bad food, some of the food we were talking about earlier, and it starts to happen just in your digestive tract. And it starts to have that little lesion starts to form. And what that's called, it's called hyperplasia. Now the next step from that, let's say we do not change anything at all. We keep on doing what we're doing, living the same thing we've been doing, and now that transforms to another tissue, and some of us might have even had this before. It's called an ulcer. So we use the digestive tract, and that cell now gets thicker, and now it starts to be a little bit more irritated from the same thing we were doing. And that's the next stage of cancer, of getting the cancer. It's called metaplasia. The next part down, we still don't change. We keep on doing the same thing, living that lifestyle that we're living that's getting us in that way. And females, you might have this down the road. When you've gotten checked, okay, they see a disordered growth or a cell, that's called dysplasia. It's a dysplastic in your body. And now what that shows up as an abnormal pap smear. And now you're now on their list that, hey, this is abnormal. We need to monitor this as much as possible, because what does your gynecologist know is that, hey, she is on her way to here if we don't rectify this and get her back to there. And that's why they check so frequently for that, because you're already more than halfway to cancer. So we still don't change. We're doing the same things. Diet, nutrition, stress, smoke, alcohol, toxicity. Now what starts to happen? We start to get this little growth. So what's that growth? Tumor. You can say it. It's a tumor. It's a polyp. Not necessarily cancerous at that point, but if they do a colonoscopy and they see this, what do you think they're going to want to do? They're going to want to take it out, right? Because they know if we let that thing go, you're a stage away from the big C word. And it's the same thing, not just for ovarian cancer, thyroid cancer. It's the same thing for any type of cancer across the board. It goes through these stages. You don't go from here to here without going through 2, 3, 4, and 5. And as long as we can work on staying you as close as we can to here, we don't have to worry about those stages down below. And that's exactly why we see these polyps. Those tumors grow, and what's happening is that cancer is popping up. Now, to shift gears where it makes a little more sense, has anyone ever seen friends or family with those skin tags on their neck right there? Right? We've all seen those. Where do these come from? They're not all over the rest of the body. They might just be on that neckline. Well, the chemicals that are in your laundry from that irritation that's taking place onto the skin, the chemicals that are in there, rubs the skin, irritates it, and it takes it through these stages. A little hyperplasia takes place. You don't notice it because it's a little deeper. It grows and grows and grows with that little skin tag. And that's from toxicity from laundered clothes typically, especially in that neckline. So that gives you another example of how that works. So cancer treatments. Tons of survivors in here. Some of you have been through these protocols before. And guess what? There's a time and a place where this type of stuff needs to be done. Dr. Majors on the video, he had fluid in his brain. He's a doctor in our group. We're 400 some offices across the country. His office is in Chicago. He massive headaches weren't getting resolved, and eventually wife took him to the hospital, and they saw it. You saw the scan that was there. He had brain cancer. If they wouldn't have released that fluid out of his brain, she saw the picture of him on the video with his daughter with the cap on his head. If they had to release the fluid out of his brain, or else he was going to hemorrhage and die. There is a time for this, but just because you might have that gene does not mean you should probably go, if you're a female, have that. If you have a gene, taking both the breast off because you're fearful of where this is leading you to. There's sensitivity tests for chemo you can have done. It's called a chemo sensitivity test, and you can have 1/20th as little chemo but unfortunately that doctor may only use that certain type of drug, but not all the other ones that might work better for your body. There's an chemo insulin test you can have done. Radiation surgery, drugs, transplantation can be done, but cancer is never caused. You don't get cancer because you didn't have enough chemo in your body. Does everybody understand that? That's not where it comes from. You don't get cancer because you didn't have radiation done to you. Okay? It's a treatment protocol, but it's not curing anything. Okay? You got to get to the cause of it. So how do we get to the cause? And it sounds simple. And it sounds simple because, well, it can be if you can get to the cause. If you can do these things, stop making cancer by getting to the cause, by going through the protocols we're going to talk on today, by specifically and safely killing the cancer, and then lastly, which is the most important one, you rebuild and strengthen your immune system. Because if your immune system goes in the tank, what are you giving the cells permission to do? Go off and take off and multiply and duplicate. So we want to make that system as strong as possible. So getting to the cause, so I'm a fan of Dr. Oz. I agree with maybe about 80% of what he says. He just said a couple weeks ago that everybody should take 2 aspirins a day, so I don't agree with everything, but I agree with most. And one of the things he revealed is that at a microscopic tumor, it can grow up to 16,000 times its original size in just 2 weeks. Wow. That should turn the eyes nice and big. A recent study of females at their 40s revealed 40% of them had microscopic breast cancer. Each and every one of us have cancer right now. We all have at least 50,000 cancer cells in our body. Sandy has it, Steve has it, Fred has it, Gary has it, Kim has it. Every one of us have 50,000 cells at least in our body. What happens is we don't want to activate those cells through doing the lifestyle and all the things we were touching about earlier. So knowing that we all have it, we can all kind of take a breath of fresh air. Like, I already got it. So now I just have to work on not allowing that to take off to the next level. And how does it take off to the next level? So 90 days, active cancer cells double every 90 days. So if you think about this, 90 days in, you're only at 2 cells. 2 years, you're at 250 cells. 5 years, around 65,000. Now look at the bottom. It's 8 years, double 32 times. It takes, on a mammogram, you have to be at 40 doublings before early detection is shown. That's 8 to 12 years before it's going to show up on a mammogram. And that's considered early detection. So when we think about the mammograms, that the early detection is there, they come with a risk because you have a fair amount of radiation that's going into your body year after year after year after year. And what's happening there, guess what's one thing that promotes cancer? Radiation. So if we are not at risk, we want to be cognizant of mammograms, of getting them as often as we get them. There's something called thermography that is much safer for your body. We're not doing this as consistent. And one of the reasons, if anybody see last year, anybody know what Switzerland did with the mammogram last year? They're illegal. They don't do them anymore across the country because the research that they were comparing it to, the risk and benefit was not meeting. The one life they were saving, they were putting 150 other females at risk for cancer. So the risk and benefit was not meeting. And that's where the research was coming across. So, how do we kill cancer? What can we do? So we can starve the cancer. So this is a tough one. You want to eliminate all sugars. I get it. Near impossible. If what we're drinking, we're having Kool-Aid in our freezer, we have some changes we can make. If we're eating a lot of breads, a lot of candy with the season that's coming across us, we're taking in a lot of sugars. I'm going to show you a video here shortly. It's going to show you just how much sugar we're taking in. You want to cut off cancer's blood supply. It's called anti-angiogenesis. So there's some foods here. What foods can you take in? So you have apples, blueberries, mushrooms, olive oil. I know some of you see Brussels sprouts, like, I knew that was going to be on there. Yeah, obviously Brussels sprouts is on there. But look, we're already doing some of this stuff. Okay, got olive oils on here. So we're already doing some of this stuff, but these are your cancer-killing foods. These are foods you can eat regularly. Yes?
What is dark chicken?
You got it. You got it. Yep. You got it. So we're already doing some of these things. So these are some of your, and so there are a list, but if you just Google anti-angiogenic foods, all you have to do is Google that, and you're going to see that whole list as well. If you go back, so if you fix your environment, test your pH. If you could take one thing away from today, test your pH. See where you're at. You want to be between 7.3 to right around 7.4 is your number you want to live at. Guess where most Americans are at? We're acidic. We're below 7. Most of us, we tested at the office, were between 6 to 6.5. Some who have gone through the protocols were at that normal level. So we're acidic. We've got to get you to the alkaline state. Don't even test this though. You can test your water supply. Bottled water, unfortunately, guess what? Can be acidic. It's in a plastic container. One of the most acidic bottled waters out there is made by Coca-Cola, and it's the blue one, Dasani. I believe it's like a 6.6 or 6.7 in water, but water should be neutral. If we look down here, so you want to induce apoptosis through epigenetic manipulation. Layman's terms, you want to make sure those cells die through living the right lifestyle. Correct your nutritional deficiencies. Look, if you're eating a wrap for breakfast, a sandwich for lunch, and then bread at dinner, you are taking in sugar. You're feeding cancer. So you want to, and not only deficiencies, you might be toxic as well. You can go either way. You can take too much of something or too little of something in. And then remedy inflammation. All the things I've been talking about, cause inflammation. Inflammation will lead to cancer. Now, here are the causes. One, it all starts with your mindset. And one thing I have with all the survivors in here, one thing I can tell you, which you don't know all of them personally, their mindset was, I'm not going to give up. They were positive the whole way through. And I can vouch for each and every one of them that are in here because I know all of them on a personal level. And I see it all the time. Those who have a positive mindset, that's where it all starts from. If you get hit with anything in your life, I can't, I won't, it's not going to happen to me. Guess what? It's not going to. Typically, you're going to have that type of lifestyle where something's always happening. The good news with all this is that you can take three things away. You're either in the middle of the storm, you're just coming out of one, or you're getting ready to go back into one. Okay? And that's the thing called life. And knowing that that's what's happening, and whether you're in the middle of one right now with something at the house, something at work, you just got out of one, or something's peeking right around the corner, okay, it's not cancer. Cancer's not just waiting for you. It's like, Fred, no, Larry, no. But yep, he gets it. He's number 3. That's not the way cancer works. Okay? Cancer works from doing all these things wrong over a long period of time. Essential 2 is your nerve supply. You're deficient in nerve supply. Your nutrients we just touched on, you're either toxic or deficient in your nutrients you're taking in. Your lean muscle from oxygen, you're not doing the right protocols through exercise. And toxicity, I don't know what to put there, so I just put toxicity, so that's what went there. So you can be too toxic. Now, a couple things from Essential 3 for quality nutrition. What we want to do, there's 6 essentials to every cell. So what they are here, I'm going to borrow a, Fred, can I borrow you?
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, stand up for me. All right. So let's just say Fred's a healthy cell. So
Let's say that.
Here you go. Smile. There, now he's healthy. Okay. Now he's healthy. Okay. So let's just say now Fred. Okay. How do you hold into this?
This one?
Yep. Put the paper like this. There you go. Now let's just say Fred's a 10-year-old. Okay. So it's called the saran wrap is now bad fat. So let's say Fred was just got out of 7th grade and what are we doing? Kids do good. Let's treat them right. Let's go. Ice cream it is. So let's get some of that ice cream in there, and maybe we'll take them to McDonald's and they have shakes that's coming around and some of this bad fat. So some pizza maybe, and it goes on and on. But he got really good grades. We want to keep on doing it because he did awesome, so good. But he didn't change anything, but he just kept on eating. Got some of that milkshake, some of his good French fries, and some. So I'm just having fun here, but what are we doing here? So that the cell, you need that cell to be healthy because we want good things to come in and bad things to come out, right? But what happens here is that he can't feel this. I'm not poking on him to tell them that something's going on. So what happens now is that cell, now there's problems because bad things can't get out, good things can't get in, and now that recipe we need to keep him healthy is not happening. But we do it over and over and over again. And now what's happening from what we're doing, that cell now becomes very, very bad and gets toxic and deficient and everything we've been talking about. So, there we go.
Thank you.
You have to say it like that. You want to help interrupt him? Take yourself out. There, give you a hand. Give it up for Fred. There you go. That's it. So those essentials to every cell, what can we take? So the first one is amino acids. You need 22 amino acids. You need antioxidants, fatty acids, a lot of enzymes, vitamins, minerals, and trace minerals. That's a lot of stuff. What's it actually? Talk to me in English, Doc. So amino acids, building blocks of your proteins. You want to make sure your protein is not toxic, so you want to be buying organic proteins, grass-fed beef, organic chicken, wild fish. You do not want to be taking in toxic protein. That's where you're going to get your amino acids from. Your antioxidants. Think about things that are positive for your antioxidants. Anything in your berry family is going to be good for you. And you can Google antioxidants. You'll see a whole list and plethora of foods. Your fatty acids. Fish is going to be your primary source of your fatty acids. That kills, this is all your cancer killing recipe. It's a basic recipe, so you don't want to change it up. You know, vacation meals are okay. Some of you have been on vacation since 1976. So those vacation meals, once or here and there, it's fine. But what do you want to do? Most days of the week, you have to be living the right way, or else that bill is going to come due. Your live enzymes, fatty acids of fish, peaches are a great form of it. Now, the essential fatty acid, we just touched on this, but that cell wall, it needs that essential fatty acid. So if it doesn't happen, what happens to Fred? That cell wall, which is what I just wrapped him in, you can't get good stuff into there. And that's what that fatty acid is. That's why you need that to make your cells so healthy. So what if I told you could eat butter for this diet? Like, oh, sign me up for that. I'm all about that butter diet, right? Butter is very, very good for you. The bad stuff, I can't believe it's not butter, that hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated, it's terrible. Okay, butter is fine for you. Butter got a bad rap along the way. Okay, and now we're going to touch on here, and this is going to really drive it home on sugar.
So I want to test out Dr. Davis's theory. I got to say, when I read these books, I'm startled sometimes that this stuff has not permeated through the fabric of medicine. This whole concept that whole wheat bread will increase blood sugar to a level higher than a candy bar. That was one of the things you said in the book. So we have a medical unit. We decided to do the experiment for all of us. It hasn't been done before that I'm aware of. We took blood sugar levels in 5 women. Here are these 5 women. Here they are eating their bread. That's whole grain bread, what I recommend. We took their blood sugars, and then once we got their numbers this day, we compared it to the next day's experiment, which was we gave them candy bars 24 hours later. After they had this, they enjoyed the candy bars a lot. Then we took their blood sugar again, and when we compared the blood sugar results of the 2 days, again, 5 women after having had whole grain, whole wheat bread, and then the next day, those same 5 women after having had the candy bars, the results were shocking. 3 out of the 5 women had a higher blood sugar spike from the whole wheat bread than the candy bar. Amazing, isn't it? Now, Natasha and Dieta's blood sugar spike was 2 times higher.
Okay. So, don't tell me you're not eating sugar, because we all are. That was what he went over, was a small study, but nonetheless, sugar feeds cancer. But it doesn't have to be sugar you're adding into your food. It's already in the food that we're eating. So if we're doubling, if that's what's happening to our glucose levels just on 5 people, imagine what is happening to the entire population. But guess what? There's an industry that does not want us to know about this. Okay? So there's a lot of money out there in these types, in our standard American diet. If you go to across the grocery store, okay, if you go to companies like Nabisco, okay, fortunately, they're not dumb. They do not want this information out there, because it's going to kill their revenue stream. And the revenue stream right now is killing us. So sugar. How else do we know that sugar feeds cancer? So PET scans. If you've ever gone through a PET scan before, what they do on a PET scan is they make an isotope radioactive and they inject it in you. And what happens is the cancer cells recognize that sugar and they attack it. And that's what it will show up as. And you'll light up on a scan. So during the PET scan, you see all this through here. There's cancer, there's thyroid cancer right there. There's brain cancer right there. And what happens is that the sugar gets injected into you. Those cancer cells love it. They feed off of it. And that's all a PET scan is. It's radioactive isotope sugar that goes into your bloodstream. And then boom, here are the results from it. So that's how we know it feeds it. Now, what else causes it is inflammation will ignite cancer. What causes inflammation? Bad fats. We touched on bad fats. Canola oil, corn oil, peanut oil, toxicity. Here's a good one. Psychological stress. Who has stress this week? Crazy, right? So I'm getting married in 2 weeks. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday. Right. Ask her. Ask her. That's it. I will. It's going to be awesome. Now, so last night we're doing the, I was practicing on this, but in between this we're working on the seating arrangements, right? He can't sit there because they don't get along. She can't sit here because they're going through a divorce. And it's like, it's stress, although it shouldn't really matter at that point, but it's just like, ay. But that's just an example of how stress is in each of our lives every day. And it's so minimal and minute. But during that day, what do? We focus on it. We think it's the worst thing that's going to happen to us on that day. But what's happening to our body? It's causing inflammation. And when it's causing inflammation, what are we doing? We're telling those cancer cells, hey, have at it. Okay? Our body is down at a lower level. Food sensitivities is another one. Gluten, for example. So we have these sensitivities. Now, what else do we have? So another example I like to use of, so your colon and your bowels. Now they work one way here. I'm not going to wrap you up, I promise you, Priscilla. Let me bother you. Sharon, can I bother you too? I'm sorry, you hold it. That's it. I promise you I won't wrap you. You have my word. Sharon, let me have you hold this up. Priscilla, come down here.
I deserve this.
No, you're not wrapping, you just hold it. I told you I was going to wrap you. I won't lie to you.
I'm holding.
Yeah, you're going to hold.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Hold that nice at each end, up and top. Okay. Now let's just say this mimics your gut lining, because some of us know our gut lining is very, very thin. So what this is called, you need to be permeable. Right? You want things to get through it, but you also want things to get out of it. Now, let's just say through here, the gut gets compromised. You have a pen. Thank you. Hold that nice and tight. So let's just say, well, now this gut now has been compromised through the diet, through the nutrition that we've been eating. But now what's happening, instead of small molecules we need to come through the gut, we have these larger molecules that can come out. And these now, instead, it attaches to the thyroid, it attaches to the pancreas, it goes into the bone marrow, goes to the liver, goes to the lungs, goes to the brain. And now those larger molecules go because the permeability of your digestive tract, all this nasty stuff is coming out, but now larger stuff that's coming out that's attaching to those organs. And eventually what will happen, enough it attaches, we now talk about cancer. Thank you. Appreciate it. So that's how that works. But now if you have this, what you want to fix it, and how can we fix it? Well, there's a couple different things you can do. Okay. There is supplements you can take before you eat. One of them is called Max GI. Those of you who've been with us for a year, this just got released last year. They were working on this for about 5 or 6 years. And it helps replace exactly that. It helps replace that gut lining. Probiotics are very good for you. They help replace your gut lining. Taking in those good fats, like we were just talking about, replace that gut lining. Smoothies you can try. Smoothies are a great breakfast, a great lunch. If you're like me and first thing in the morning, typically you got a bunch of things to do and you're not really too concerned about breakfast because you're on the go, well, you can drink your breakfast. Did anybody try this on the way in? The strawberry? So there's samples that will be here at break that you can try. And it's coconut milk, it's max grains, it's strawberries, and it's protein. But what you do is you put it in a blender, 2 minutes, and you're done. There's your breakfast. And what are you doing? Not only are you eating, but you're also killing cancer at this point as well. So the other things you can do, so there's protein drinks. And I'm not here to sell supplements. I don't care, honestly, where you get them from. As long as it's a whole food organic product, get them wherever you want, as long as it meets a couple criteria. Just don't, the Walmart brand, the Centrum, the GNC stuff, it doesn't hold up. It breaks down. They're toxic for you. But as long as they're whole food products, I'm not a supplement salesman. We have brands here. So if you, these are just ones I stand behind because I know that they work and I know how much goes into them. Protein, for example. What's in protein? So you want to be whey and not soy protein. You also want it to be naturally sweetened. You don't want to have sugar in it. You want to make sure it's derived from natural sources. Your greens, which are on this side, your greens are all your fruits and veggies, but is anybody really doing 7 or 8 servings of vegetables every day? Most of us are not. So you can get these, they break these to a powder, make them into a powder, put it in water, and you get your servings that way. Doing these things consistently now, you're a cancer killer now. You're killing cancer instead of creating it. From now, instead of your breakfast doesn't live here, your breakfast is now at the drive-thru at McDonald's. That's the difference, is making those small changes. Or you're not eating breakfast at all. You're skipping it straight through lunch. Now, the D3. How many of you, if you've been with me for any amount of time, who's been with me through, what do I always say? Take the 3. It's number 1 in my book. If you're going to take anything, number 2 thing to take away from today, it's vitamin D3. Now the problem is that with vitamin D3. Vitamin D3, okay, it can help kill cancer amongst a bunch of other things. What does vitamin D do? Problem is we don't get it. We get it through the sun. We're in Western PA. The winter's right around the corner. How much sun are we really getting? Not much. And with the stuff when we're getting it from the food, we're not getting enough of it in. But the problem with vitamin D3 is that it oxidizes quickly from heat. So is anybody, vitamin D3, Adam, I know you take it, right? What color is the capsule? Blue. It's blue, it's like blackish blue. The reason behind it is because light and heat can't get into it. So if you're taking vitamin D3 that is not black, it's not dark coated, okay, that you're taking the wrong stuff. Also, next part, which is, and this is from, this is I hope that goes on, a great video on to drive this point home.
And now the new study linking vitamin D and cancer in a way we've never heard before. Doctors know that low levels of the vitamin can lead to a host of illnesses, but now research suggests that vitamin D might actually hold the key to fighting cancer. John McKenzie has a story.
The studies just keep coming. The evidence mounting. Low levels of vitamin D are now linked to so many illnesses, from breast, colon, and prostate cancers, type 1 diabetes and asthma, to multiple sclerosis and heart disease.
I even think of vitamin D as the fountain of youth, if you will, in that it allows us to age well.
At least that's the hope. And nowhere is the evidence more compelling than here in the laboratory.
So all the work here is on vitamin D?
Yes, we've got
Professor Joellen Welsh has spent the last 25 years studying the powerful effect of vitamin D on cells.
These are human breast cancer cells growing in the flask.
Taken from a woman who had breast cancer?
Yes.
Now watch what happens when you add a potent form of vitamin D. Within just 4 days, half those cancer cells are dead.
It looks like the cancer cells have basically shriveled up and died.
The longer they're treated with vitamin D, the more of an effect we see. What happens is that vitamin D enters the cells and it triggers this cell death process. It's similar to what we see when we treat cells with tamoxifen.
A drug used to treat breast cancer?
Yes.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. It's a very dramatic effect.
That was just the beginning. Researchers here then took human breast cancer cells and injected them into mice. Tumors quickly began to grow, but when the mice were treated with vitamin D, the tumors began to shrink. Look, this one was reduced to half its size. The one here disappeared entirely. Similar results have been seen on colon and prostate tumors in mice. The real test, however, remains. Will vitamin D work this way in people? Other lab work is revealing how vitamin D can actually improve the way cells function in the heart and in blood vessels.
Okay, so that's vitamin D. Now, your vitamin D, what they look for when you get your blood work done, so when you get your pH levels checked, I would also make sure your primary checks your vitamin D levels. What they're looking for is a level over 30, because that's so you do not get rickets. When's the last time, does anybody know that he's ever had rickets? Me neither. Okay. So if we can get you to a level of 50 to 51, what would you decrease? 83% of breast cancer, ovarian cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, MS, endometrial cancer. List goes on and on and on and on. So that's where you want to be. So 30 on their blood work, where are you going to show up? If you're above 30, you're going to show up as normal, right? But your normal, where we want you, is about 50 to 51, because now you're killing cancer at that point. With vitamin D, recommendations, 5,000 units every single day. When you're symptomatic, it's 10,000 units until your symptoms are gone. Okay, 5,000 units daily. Kids, your kids need to be on vitamin D. Yes, yes, double yes. What are they bringing home with them from school? Colds, flus, sniffles, sinus stuff, the gunk. Okay, yes, 1,000 units for the kids. Now, with vitamin D, when you take it consistently, it takes time. You don't just go from being at a deficient level to 50 overnight. You have to do it every day. You have to make sure you take this every day. My vitamin D I put right next to my desk, so I know I do not forget to take it. It's always sitting right there. The problem with supplements is what we do is that we buy them, we take them for a week or two, and then they collect dust. You've got to take, this is one of the ones you have to take consistently, because we've become deficient in it. You now become a cancer promoter. Now, not only is it going to help with this, flu season's coming. Flu season's right around the corner. Flu season's in the winter because your vitamin D levels from the sun go away. That's why it's not in June. So you have to spike it up. If you're not wanting to get sick, get that vitamin D level up, up, up.
Is it possible to get too much?
It is, but that's why I would want you to get checked. It's very hard to get to that level. You'd have to be taking like 20,000 units consistently daily to get to that level.
Do SPF sunscreens block the vitamin D from the sun?
They sure do. Yep, they sure do. And that's a good point, Bob. So we'll go out in the sun and we'll put sunscreens on them. Guess what sunscreens are? Carcinogens. There's cancer-causing agents in the lotion, but they block the pores so your sun can't even get in there. But even if you're getting the right amount of sun, you have to have about 50% of your skin exposed for 20 to 25 minutes, so you have to be half nude outside. How many of us did that this summer? So it's just not realistic. Yeah. All right. We're out there in the butt. Now, I know what all of you are saying at this point. You're saying, wait, I have a friend who did everything he just said, but they got what? They got cancer. And on the flip side, I have a friend who lives that life he's telling us not to lead, and they're not even sick. So what's going on? I have my aunt has been a smoker as long as I can remember. She smokes, I don't even know how much, probably a pack a day. I'm just ballparking. I don't know for sure. For years and years and years and years and years, never get sick. I have one of my best friends in college. He was a marathon runner. He was as healthy as he could be. We worked out all together. We ran. He got Hodgkin's in school. He passed away my freshman year of chiro school. And he was living, wife was just saying, so what is it, Doc? What's not adding up here? So what's the secret? Now, the secret's this. I'm going to borrow you one more time, Fred. You have you face this way. We all have a nerve supply in our body. And if I take that nerve supply and I cut that, what happens to him? See, does he still around? Does he live? Dies. So you may not believe in chiropractic, which is fine. Okay? But this is basic neurology. If you lose nerve supply here, the second I do that, game over. You can go a couple months without food, a couple days without water, but the minute that you go without air and the second you go without nerve supply, it's game over. The central nervous system starts with your brain, and the way that message goes down, it goes down through the spine, and we have nerves that travel between each one of our vertebrae, and those nerves go to every cell, muscle, tissue, and organ in your body. They literally go everywhere. So if there's just a little bit of pressure that is going from here to his pancreas, which is where that goes in the middle back, that pancreas now is not functioning at 100%. Does it matter at that point that he followed that diet to a T, that he exercised the protocols we're going to show you here after the break, that he's not toxic, if he's not going straight to the cause? It's basic science. It's basic neurology. The second we take pressure off there and stabilize it, he now has positive nerve flow. So the secret was that their nerve systems of that friend or family member were not compromised. And that's why they were able to go through and live the lifestyle they led, and vice versa. That's what. Thank you. Well, we get these warning signs. What do we get? We get asthma, emphysema, fatigue, acid reflux. These symptoms come, but the time you get a single warning sign, you had to have lost 40% of function before you get a single warning sign to even pop up. So by the time you're even feeling any of this, you're only at 60% of your health. And what we do is that we kick the can down the road. We deal with it another day. We take a med to cover it up. And this brings me back. This morning I was thinking about, well, how can I really relate this to myself and what was going on with me? So when I was a kid, I got terrible migraines. I got terrible headaches. I would come home from school and I would be in tears because my head was just pounding so bad. And I would get them pretty consistently, once a week, once every other week. And it went on for years and years and years and years. Now, when I would get them, what would my parents do for me? They gave me medication. Because they would give me, and what would happen to my headache? It went away. But I now know for certainty what was going on is that I was a picky eater when I was a kid. Right, Mom? You can vouch I was a picky eater. Was I a picky eater? Right? Yeah. I had the worst diet. It was terrible. I would only eat just foods that weren't good for you, and if it wasn't what I wanted to eat, it wasn't happening. So looking back, I know I was toxic as could be. I wasn't eating the right food, and I know, without a doubt, I was subluxated in my neck, but they just didn't know to check for it. It wasn't their fault, they just didn't know. And what happens now is that we don't know to check for this because we're not looking in the right spot. We're looking for the Tylenol bottle to fix our pain, when we should be looking at what we're doing internally and why our body's causing the pain. And what can happen, just like this is Dr. Major's x-ray. So he had the brain cancer, but you can see, everybody go like this with your hand. Okay. Poke your skin. Soft, right? Now everybody straighten it. Hard, right? That's what happens to your spinal cord. When your spine goes out of alignment, whether it's your neck, your middle back, your lower back, you put pressure on there, now you have that nerve supply that's not functioning correctly. And if your nerve supply is not functioning correctly, now you can have those issues. So this was his before, this was after. You can see the curve that you can see. It's a little dark, but he has a good curve through there. He's healthy. He's cancer-free at that point. Look, I'm not a cancer doctor. I don't specialize in cancer. What I specialize is in health and wellness. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that those 5 essentials that we teach and the protocols we follow, that's your game plan to good health. So for the guests in the audience, before we're going to go to break here in just a minute, all the guests, you have a red folder. On the inside of your red folder, there's a blue pamphlet. On here, for the guests here, you have a blue pamphlet. On here, for the guests over the next couple days, we're doing complimentary checkups to get checked. The only way you know if you're deficient in this, you have a nurse. You would have to have an x-ray done, possibly, but you do a 66-point check that evaluates your bones, muscles, and everything else in between. If you want to get checked, all the guests, it's on this blue sheet. You fill this out, and Tracy and Nikki are here. They will collect those from you. That's good over the next couple of days at our office. If you do not want to take advantage of it, pass up on it because we're a super busy office. It's just an offer we're passing out to all the guests that are here. And that's good over the next couple of days in our office. And that takes care of this. So if you have this, pass it. They're going to collect them in between break. You'll fill out this blue pamphlet. There is just one other thing I want to do before break. So I get, just as you can imagine, when I meet patients, some of them have objections. It's too far. It's not really on my radar to get things fixed. And there's a patient here I want to recognize. She doesn't know that I'm doing this. So she's probably been with us about a year and a half, and I have patients that come from different parts of the state. Some of you come from Bethel Park. I think it's the far right. Okay. I have folks coming from New York. I have patients coming from Ohio. But Jan's here. Come up here, Jan. Jan comes from West Virginia. She drives 2.5 hours roughly. How long is it? 2.5. So she's just an amazing patient. She's on her wellness program right now. At the beginning when she was starting, okay, she could have said, the distance is too much, I'm not really getting it. She was referred from another Maximized Living office, and she was coming 3 times a week initially, an hour and a half each way. So you imagine how that would be, coming up like, oh my gosh, but never seen her in a bad mood. She gets it. Her dad has been under care for a year now. Her granddaughter's under care. She's just done amazing work, so I thought it'd be appropriate to give her a gas card.
Thank you.
We love you. So we have a breaks right now. Vendors are here. We have organic juice here, fresh from the farm juices. They are awesome. I've done their cleanses myself. We have our CrossFit gym here. They're amazing. Check them out. They're going to go over some high intensity stuff with you. And we have Sunny Bridge, which Robin's going to talk to us after the break about our mindset. And Sunny Bridge is here. That's where we get all of our produce and all our food from. So check all of them out. Our resource table is back there as well. It's 15% discount. It's our only sales. It's one of the only sales we do all year. So that's our resource table back there. We're going to do about a 20-minute break. So we have samples of food as well. We got some awesome food back there. So we have some salsa, some homemade fudge brownies, as well as some shakes. So have at it. Enjoy it. Those of you to know, with my background in exercise physiology, you know how much I love exercise. Now, shift gears. Mindset. Where it all starts with the mind. Trace, you want to do lights, please? With our mindset, and much like we're talking about specialties, I'm going to bring Robin. Come on up, Robin. She's going to talk to you about the mindset piece. Robin is a life coach who specializes in exactly what we're going to talk about here today, which is essential number one, which is mindset. We can talk all we want about changing. She's going to give you some action steps, what you can do to change, how we can become more of a positive thinker. You attract. The law of attraction does exist. We want to attract those things into our lifestyle. So, Robin, take it away, and thank you.
Thank you. My name is Robin Janis. I am a life coach, a personal life coach. I call myself a life empowerment wellness mentor. I am also part of the Sunnybridge Natural Foods team. I'm very proud to do that. I could come up here and talk mindset, which I'm going to, but the first thing that I do have to say, if there's anybody in here who doesn't understand chiropractic, please go see this man. Please take that card and please go, because we can talk about a lot of things. We talk about your focus intent. What do you want to do here? The thing that I loved what he said was, I'm not a cancer doctor. Well, he's not a cancer doctor because he's a wellness doctor. This isn't about, let's wait until we get something and go fix it. Let's just be the best we can be every day. Health is your birthright, and nobody's been taught that. Nobody tells you that you are born in health. It isn't something you have to go after. It's something that you are. We just have to get rid of all this stuff that we've been brainwashed about to let the truth of who you are come out. So this is about keeping that mind on your focus intent. What is it that you want? And then developing a lifestyle that's congruent with what you say you want. But without a clear connection in your body, I don't care what you do. And a lot of people who haven't had chiropractic think it's, and I don't give it a little chiro talk, I'm sorry, but think it's about bones and bones popping in and bones popping out. It's not. It's about the balance of your nervous system. And what's important to know and realize about that is that there's not a function of your body that doesn't work off your nervous system, not one. So if you are subluxated, and that word actually means less than light, less than having this clear connection through the body. It's kind of like if you're a gardener and you're watering your roses and you got a hose, you got a little kink in there. You may get some water, but you're not going to get the water 100% to where you need it to be. So when we're talking about wellness, to me, having your nervous system balanced is the only way to go. Because I don't care what you do. I don't care what kind of food you eat, how much oxygen exercise you do, how many supplements you take. If your signals are not open, nothing gets to where it's supposed to go. So if you have any questions about it, go see him, take him up on that evaluation, because you will not be sorry. It's very, very important. Sunnybridge is very proud to be part of this talk a little bit, because what Dr. Carr was talking about when we're talking about the right kind of food, the right kind of nutrition, getting that into the body. It's important to be eating clean foods. You can be putting in a lot of good antioxidants, fruits and vegetables, but if they're loaded with pesticides and chemicals, you're adding another toxic load to the body. And a toxic load in any way causes stress in the body. Stress is the #1 anti-nutrient in the body. Sugar's #2, but stress is #1. So realizing your daily stresses, and it's true, we all have stress. He's planning a wedding, he's stressed. Everybody has stress. Nobody's going to avoid stress, but we can learn how to manage that stress. We may not be able to manage what comes at us, but we can manage who we are. So pick your battles wisely. Take deep breaths. Learning how to center yourself in the middle of stress I love a little mantra that I tell my clients, if I could tattoo it under your eyelids, would be, I choose peace rather than this. And this was a little thing Wayne Dyer said years ago. Choose peace. Get up in the morning and set your intention to have a peaceful, joyful day, because what you think about does come about. The law of attraction does exist. What you put your mind into, you're going to get back. If you get up in the morning and you're in a bad mood, and I was on the trail the other day and it was raining, and I have a dog, and I'm walking my dog and the dog's soaking wet, and I ran into a guy who was walking his dog, and all he did, he stopped and complained, and oh my gosh, now I got to go home and give him a dog a bath, and yitty, 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 and he was just in a really bad mood. I kept going down the trail, and I ran into another woman who's walking her dog, and she's wet, and she goes, isn't this just a lovely day? Don't you love the smell of the rain? How you see something, exactly how something's going to be. So how you see things is how you're going to create it. Who you are on the inside, if you come from a place of peace, in every situation of your life, you will look for the peaceful situation. Sometimes that's walking away. Sometimes that is speaking your truth. But seek peace. Get up in the morning and set an intention of how you want to feel and how you want to be in the morning. I wanted to read something about when he was talking about nutrition and setting your mindset into what real food is. We have a new vendor. We have, if anybody has heard about paleo eating, and which is, we can give a lot of labels to it, but it's just eating, let's eat real food. So I love this little word that came with this vendor. It says 100 words about nutrition. Number 1, seek real nutrient-filled food as close to the natural as possible, whole, unprocessed, unmodified, and unrefined. Number 2, pretend the modern supermarket doesn't exist. Choose foods that could be hunted or gathered, food that has always been food, not factory-made products. So the less you buy with a barcode on it, the healthier for your body. If you're eating a food that's attached to an advertisement or a commercial on TV, it's probably not the food for you. Number 3, support local responsible producers. 4, eat animals, eggs, seafood, vegetables, fruits, and traditional fruits. And with this also, make sure, as Dr. Carr said, you're eating your protein. Grass-fed meat is expensive, organic foods are expensive, but do the best you can. There's a list, you can Google it, called the Dirty Dozen. Sunnybridge has it, we have flyers up there. Knowing which are the most toxic fruits and vegetables is important. Knowing which ones, if you're going to make a choice. Number 1, strawberries. I love strawberries. The number 1, if you don't ever want to eat a strawberry, that's not organic, because the strawberry is very spongy. So when they spray them, man, they suck those pesticides and the chemicals in. Part of our issues here. Eat fats, real fats. Butter, he was right. Butter is your friend. A lot of times, for years we've been told, don't eat fat, don't eat fat. You need fat. Your whole nervous system needs fat. Your myelin sheath protects it. It is fat. So we need to have fat in the diet. Fat protects us. It gives integrity to our arteries and our veins. It's very, very good. It's good. Your heart's preferred fuel is ketones, so we need that good, healthy fat. So you're looking at fats, real butter, avocados, olives, nuts, and seeds. So good, healthy fats. Try to eliminate the vegetable fats. Drink water. You are, what, 75%? 80% water? Okay, 80% water. So you got to drink water every single day. Water hydrates you, flushes these toxins. As you're changing your lifestyle here, just what he was talking about, the cells, you're bringing in the good stuff. So the more, this isn't about concentrating on what you can't have. This is about concentrating on what you can have. What is going to become of these changes you're making. So when you think of your cells as all this good stuff's going in, that other stuff, that toxic stuff, wants to come out. So the more water you're going to drink is going to flush this stuff out of the body. So drink up. Incorporate superfoods. The greens Dr. Carr talks about, your proteins, fermented vegetables are really, really good. Homemade bone broth is excellent. Organ meats if you can eat it. And above all, ditch obsessive behavior of diet. This is really important. I talk a lot about diet in the classes that I teach and the clients that I have. Does anybody think diets work? Okay, well actually you're wrong, they do. All diets work if you do the diet. But my definition of a diet, a D-I-E-T, is a daily intake of essential and empowering thoughts and things. Everything you do is a diet. A diet is just the way you live your life. So it has to start here. You want to be thinking as you're designed to think. We are designed to think in wholeness, in health, and in wellness. Ask yourself, who are you hanging around with? Are you hanging around people who support these changes you want to make? Are you hanging around people who are trying to pull you away from your path? What are you reading? What things, As a Man Thinketh, James Allen, great book. As a man thinketh in his heart, he becometh. And nothing, that's the most truthful thing you will ever read. Who you are on the inside, what you think you can do or what you can't do, you will create. So, what you're thinking about is really important. The friends, we're told that we become, the 5 people we hang around with is who we're going to become. So really ask yourself, who am I hanging around with? What am I watching on television? I know, it's scary, isn't it? Yeah, it is. I had to think about that years ago, and I realized it was time to move on, and maybe some of these people in my life that I loved, maybe it was time that I kind of move on. What are you watching at night? We're talking about stress. So if you're laying in bed with the 11 o'clock news on, everybody's freaking out about Ebola, think about that. You want to give yourself a ritual before bed to de-stress. We're not any different than when our kids were little. We used to read them a story, put them in the tub, take a nice relaxing bath or shower, start winding down, detach from your electronics an hour before you go to bed. Bring your lights down, have some tea, do a little bit of deep breathing. Again, any little thing that you can do. These are just little tips to de-stress your life. Very, very important. But again, what's really most important about it is where are you focused? What can you do? What can't you do? Because if we do focus on what we can't do, and we get frustrated of, this was such a great time for this talk when he's talking about giving up sugar. I mean, we got Halloween next week. I looked it up for you guys. I was online, I was Googling. There is no law that says every child that comes to your door needs candy. There's not a law. And I promise you, if you don't give them candy, they're not going to miss it since there's 1,000 bars in their bag. You can be that one person who starts to save a child's life. And this may seem like a little thing, but what I love about what goes on in here is that you guys all have the ability to change lives, not just your life, but as you jump on this program and you take responsibility for yourself, every single person that you come in contact with, in one way or another, you're going to change their life. I read a story years ago about a woman on a train, and I love this. It's never left me. And it was raining. I had to sing with rain, but anyway, so I love the rain. It was raining, and she's watching the raindrops on the window of the train. And there was a raindrop coming from the right and the left, and it came together and it met and became one big drop. And it came down, and it was connecting to every other drop there. Everybody in this room is now connected to each other. Your lives have enlarged just by being here, just by learning new things. What I'm hoping is before you guys leave is that you'll walk around and introduce yourself to anybody in here you don't know. This is a community. This is how you grow. You guys can do this together as a team, and you take this out to the people in your community and you do it again. This is bigger than just you guys, but you do have this chance to change lives. I give water bottles out, and I'll tell you what, at Halloween, these kids love it. These kids are thirsty. I mean, they're eating sugar and they're getting dehydrated. So, give them some water to flush some of this out. Again, coming into the holiday season, I'm going to try to wrap this up. Important, because I could do this for 7 hours, but this is so, what he does, I'm so passionate about who this man is in particular. I mean, there's a lot of chiropractors, but his passion to help people is just, it's huge. But you're going into the holiday season and everybody goes, oh my gosh, well I've got, Christmas, Thanksgiving, we're talking about wellness. Talking about immune system. Every time you eat sugar, your immune system is suppressed for about 7 hours. Now your immune system is your army. So when your immune system's suppressed, and we're talking about dis-ease, disease is dis-ease. It's a dis-ease in the body. So every time your immune system is down, you are opening up that gate to everything out there, every flu, every cold, every germ that wants to come in. So we're going through what? We're going through Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all these foods that, all this stuff that we don't usually eat all the time. So really just be aware. And it's like Dr. Carr said, the occasional meal isn't what's going to set you off track. But don't come into a holiday and go, I'm going to cheat. So here's where the empowerment comes in. You go into what you do with I choose. Because when you choose it, you own it. When you cheat, you think you're bad. And when you're bad, what do we do to people in this country? Bad people get punished. And how do we punish ourselves? Well, if I eat a brownie on Friday, I'm a bad person. I might as well finish off the pan and start again on Monday. Okay? Because you cheated and you were bad. It's choose. I choose this at Thanksgiving. I choose a piece of pie. Have it, enjoy it, love it, enjoy your family. But don't cheat it, choose. I want everybody to stand up for me. And I want you to repeat after me. Today is the day. Today is the day. I take full responsibility for my life. The rest of the world is off the hook. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, thank you. All right. Everybody up, come on. Let's do a little exercise now, get that blood going. Styling. All right, so exercise, essential, guaranteed, burn. We're looking for hormones to be regulated. We need to increase growth hormone, decrease cortisol, increase testosterone. So 20 seconds straight. Come here, she's going to get this stuff out here. 20 seconds, let's do some air punches. 20 seconds, we're off. Go, punch, punch, kill cancer. She's going to go. She sees somebody punches hard, she's going to give you, she's got a gift for you. Punch hard for 20 seconds. She's got a gift for you. 10 more, you're halfway there. Halfway there. She's going to pass them out. Go, go, go. Another 5 seconds. 3, 2, and 1. Good job. Everyone have a seat. Good job. Awesome. So that's 20. That's a little bit of. So that's what we call MAC T3. How many been to our MAC T3 workouts? Raise your hands. Are they awesome? I mean, come on. Are they not great? They are great. So, our principle. So, what it is, we got to do a couple things with exercise. Just like as you can eat right and eat wrong, you can exercise right and exercise wrong. And one of the ways you can exercise wrong is by doing the wrong type of stuff. If I told you could work out, doing your cardio workout 12 minutes a day, 4 days a week, okay, well, you'd be like, I'm not buying it. I've seen a video about it. Okay, it's not true. So the group of doctors we're with, the chiropractors and the doctors of the U.S. Olympic team, this was formulated for the athletes when they're in their training, and they made it so what they could do is so soccer moms could do it, so the working dad could do it. Because what we have a lot of problems with is time management, right? We're on the go, on the go, on the go. What do we have to do? Well, a couple different things. It's surge training, and we do these Saturday mornings. There's sign-up sheets in the back. Guess what? It's all free. You guys kidding me? I don't charge for the classes. I've been doing these for about a year and a half. They're Saturday mornings from 9:15 to 10. We do them at a friend of mine. He's my chiropractor. His name's Dr. McMurray. He's at Family First Chiropractic, and he has a fitness studio in the back of his building, and we use that. So it's a that's where we go to do it. That's where the fitness studio that we use. We have weights that we have access to. And now what are we doing? When we're exercising, what kills cancer? Oxygen, right? What's the one muscle organ, if you're looking at, that does not get cancer most of the time? Heart. Right. What's the heart doing? It's pumping all that oxygenated blood out. So we can improve your oxygen through your exercise levels. What are we doing? We're fighting cancer. What is it? Just like we were just doing, we were doing 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off. And we do about 6 or 7 exercises, and we do a bonus round after that because I just like to mess with everybody. And I usually see Sandy laying on the floor. And I believe she sent something on her Facebook page and said, "You kicked your butt." Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. Anyone can do it. I've had patients in their lower 80s in there. I've had college athletes in there, and everyone in between. But you can do this at the house. You don't have to come to the class to do it. You can sit up and sit down. You can do squats on a chair. 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off. One of the worst exercises you could ever do, if you see this person at the gym and they're doing this, okay, it's not doing anything. It's a compound exercise. It's not doing any type of training to the muscle besides giving it a bicep by giving you a muscle for look. It's not really achieving anything. Compound movements. The hormones I was talking about, so cortisol is your stress hormone. I saw hands earlier, everybody's been stressed out, so we know that everyone has stress. So cortisol is your stress hormone, but it also allows you to put weight on, unfortunately. You want to decrease that. when you're doing regular cardio, when you're on the treadmill for 45 minutes to an hour at the gym, and how many of you seen this person in the gym? They're walking on that treadmill, right? Flipping the magazine, all at one pace, like, how you doing? And they're doing all this, and they're flipping the page, and it's their 45 minutes is up, they walk off, and they're not even sweating. What are you doing? So, and on the flip side, you can burn out too quickly as well. You can get to that starvation mode with your muscles, where you start to burn all your muscle, and you start to store all your fat. You can do that from too much exercise. You want to make sure you're doing it the right way. So cortisol is the other one. So growth hormone, that's the Alex Rodriguez diet. So what do we see? So any baseball fans, all the baseball players, they got caught cheating, right? They're giving themselves testosterone and growth hormone synthetically because they're trying to get that competitive advantage from their competition. Now, you can do this. The best part is that your body makes this naturally through exercise, and you want to increase your testosterone and growth hormone, but you want to do that from the burst training, the interval training, and that's what that does. If you're out there and you're on a treadmill for an hour to an hour and a half, you're doing the wrong thing. You do not need to be doing all that running. It's bad on your joints, it's bad on your back, it's bad on your knees. Now, putting that aside, if you're training for a marathon or if you're a runner, that's fine, but you're just doing it to be fit, because that's what you were always told to do. You've been lied to. So now that I just saved you so much time, that was worth it right there. So that's our exercise. Next, let's talk a little toxicity. I love this video. Okay. Alright, so that's a little intro to toxicity. Those of you who are patients in the office who do the cervical traction, so a lot of patients are using them. So what do we use for wipes? Are they Clorox wipes? No, they're natural wipes. One of the reasons being because your skin is your biggest absorber. So you can it's your largest organ in your body, and you can get a lot of things absorbed through your skin. What happens, so 1 or 2 times, no big deal, but it's chronic use of all these cleaning supplies, all the things we're putting on our body, all the deodorants we put on our body, your shower, females, all the makeup. I challenge you, take your favorite makeup and Google the ingredients. And before you have that heart attack, make sure you tell your husband that, hey, I'm getting ready to Google these ingredients, because there's just toxic stuff in this, what you're putting on your bodies. Be aware of it and make the necessary changes. You can look to do things the natural way. Sunny Bridge, which I promote a lot, because a lot of the products that we use, you can use natural products, and they're cheaper too. You can make your own. We have a list of healthy cleaning supplies where you can make vinegar is a great cleaning agent. You can make 4 or 5 different healthy cleaning products with it. And you can just Google natural cleaning products, how to make your own, and it's cheaper. You'll save more money. The crazy thing with toxicity is that you don't know necessarily you're getting it. During the summer months, what do they say? That when it's really bad outside, you see all the levels of green, yellow, purples, whatever they have. They say stay inside. It's a bad air day, right? Well, the environment, actually, your household, EPA found that your indoor air is actually more toxic than the outdoor air. So on those days when they tell you not to go outside, go outside. Because your indoor environment, they're not testing your indoor environment, they're just going from what's based off the outside. Down here, woman taking 1 ibuprofen daily for 5 years. Wow. 50% chance increase of cancer for breast cancer. 1 aspirin daily, same thing, except it's 80%. You have to be careful if you're doing this type of stuff. You've got to make sure you're not toxifying your body. And it starts from birth, unfortunately. a lot of us know that Cancer Awareness Month was October, but a lot of us didn't know that Pediatric Cancer Month was last month, was September. It starts in our little ones. How many of us can find, we have 287 chemicals at birth that's in our body. How many of us can list 287 of anything? Chairs, tables, what have you? You can't. That's on average. So what's it causing? We're getting toxic from amalgam fillings in our teeth. We're getting toxic from the water supply we're taking in, from Teflon products, from all the plastic we take in that's in our food products. And that's one of the, when you're toxic from all the stuff you're taking in, what are you giving cancer the right to do? Hey, open door, open season, no pass needed, come find me. These are all the little things. Some of you have heard some of this before, if not a lot of it before, but what do we not do? We don't take action. So today is about taking action. There's 2 or 3 things that you know with your household cleaners you need to know they need to go away. Change them. Give your body a break. Another way you can do it. How many of us have tried to do a detox before? Right? A lot of us, probably about 40% of the room. We all try to do a cleanse of one form or the other. And it's one of the reasons why I use fresh from the farm in the back there is because it's organic, cold pressed juice. It's not going to be bad stuff you're taking in. The problem with most detox systems are twofold. One is they don't have a chemical called glutathione in it. That's your body's defense mechanism that you need to take in the morning. That's pretty much what decreases all the bad stuff that's in your body. Now, on the flip side of this, you also want to take another one at night, because when you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing we do? Pee, right? Exactly. Because what do? 80% of the time we detox at night. So you want to take something at night that is going to help you detox through the night, and it helps get rid of all the stuff during the day. That's what the detox system does. A lot of times, if you've done a cleanse before, what happens after you get off the cleanse is you get sick. Okay, your body breaks down, because after you get off the cleanse, your liver is open for business, and you put toxic stuff back into it, and then you just go right into the tank. So if you're doing a cleanse, I highly recommend to do those once a quarter. It's great to clean out your body, clean all the organs, but you can do it safely as well. You can take something like this daily, and same thing, I'll say it again because I don't want anybody to think that I'm a supplement salesman, because I am not. It's just something that we recommend. If you don't do a detox daily, it's something I would highly, highly recommend. Now, to get to the essentials, in review, number 1, maximize mindset. Top one here, forgiveness is huge. It is huge. If you're holding on to regret, to anger, you're not affecting that person. You're affecting you. Let that stuff go. It is not worth the long-term issues, the elevated blood pressure, elevated heart rate, that stroke, cardiovascular disease. So if you're having whatever it is in your lifestyle that's that person you need to let go of, let it go. But don't do it for them. Do it for you. Confront your problems. Take care of you. As of now, we get one life. I don't know what the Lord has planned for me afterwards, but right now, it's right now, you only have one life. Take responsibility for it. It's not your mom's fault. It's not your dad's fault you're where you're at. It's not your kid's fault, your husband's, your wife's fault. Take responsibility for your life, accept where you're at, and then make the changes where you need to make those changes at. Become a possibility thinker. Robin said, I couldn't say it any better than she did. Everything she said, it was just awesome. So exactly what we're just hitting the head on here after break. Nutrition, the next part of this. If you need help with your nutrition, we have the 2 nutrition plans that we do in the office. You can go on the core or the advanced plan for 90 days. And if you don't think either of those plans work, try it for 90 days. Get on one of those plans and hold yourself accountable. I promise, after you get off through those 90 days, you're going to feel better than you have in a long, long time. Exercise, number 3. If you are not moving, if you're living that sedentary life, watching the Steelers on Sunday and swearing at the TV does not count for getting your heart rate up. Okay, that does not count. Okay, that's none of that bad stuff counts. Okay, you have to get up. You have to move. 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off. Do the Max T3 workouts, or you can do something similar through various gyms. You have to plan for it. What days are you exercising next week? What are you having for lunch Wednesday? It's planning. If you fail to plan to fail. That's the way that it works. Next, we talk about toxins. We just touched on this. Organic as much as possible. But I always say, we all know that they're more expensive. 60% of all bankruptcies are from your medical bills. 6 out of 10 bankruptcies are from the cost of your sickness, cost of disease. If you lose your health and if you're unable to work, you lose all of these things, then what happens is, unfortunately, we lose our money so we can't work. So yes, it's an investment. The money on your health is spent. Whether you spend it now on prevention or later on drugs, the choice is yours. I would tell you 20 times a day, twice on Friday, that you need to you make sure you eat as clean as possible, as often as possible, and budget for it. You don't need to have a $180 cable bill. Cut back if you have to. Next is nerve supply. We touched on nerve supply. If you have a choked off nerve supply, everything I just said does not matter. If you have not been checked, now is the time to get your spine checked. And if you have not been reevaluated, now is the time to get reevaluated. Now I want to build this one video up before I play it, because this will be in closing. We had a seminar in Dallas with the group we all got together, and we like to think that cancer doesn't affect kids. This is a doctor in our group. He's new to Maximize Living, and this is his story on what he went through this past year. He tells it obviously better, and he is just an amazing guy. So I thought it was just powerful. He did this at the conference, but we videoed it, and we put it on. And with that being said, it's a very, very powerful talk, so enjoy it.
Cancer will affect every single person in this room. For most of us, it's going to be a friend or a family member diagnosed. For a few of us, it's going to be us. 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women. The stats are scary. And what most of us don't even realize is that 1 in 300 boys and 1 in 330 girls are going to be diagnosed with cancer by age 20. Over 15,000 kids are going to be diagnosed this year alone. That's a child every 35 minutes. A child is going to die from cancer every 4.5 hours. It's hard to even comprehend the day-to-day impact that has on a family, but let me try. Those statistics became a reality for me on October 25th of this past year when my 3-year-old daughter, Peyton, was diagnosed with stage 4 hepatoblastoma. I'll never forget that night. In tears, I called Dr. Majors. I was new to Maximize Living, and I had read Cancer Killers already. But reading something and living it are 2 completely different things. Everything was moving so quickly. That night, the only thing I even remember from the phone conversation with Dr. Majors was him telling me, "Don't worry, she isn't going to die tonight. We have to come up with a plan." And from there, the bad news got worse over the next 6 days as Peyton's prognosis went from decent to bad to worse to the worst case ever. Our liver surgeon told us the only treatment for Peyton's cancer would be to cut her tumor out. But unfortunately, my daughter's tumor was too large. It would be too dangerous. They couldn't cut it out. The backup option would be a liver transplant. That wouldn't be an option either. Peyton's lung metastases were too great. Her metastasis was described as innumerable. My daughter had too many tumors to even count. The larger tumors, the size of golf balls. So for us, the first step would be to develop a plan that we trusted, because I knew my daughter's life would depend on it. Would we treat Peyton conventionally or non-conventionally? Would they even give us a choice? Better yet, how do you even treat a 3-year-old non-conventionally? It's a choice that no parent should ever have to make. Now, when we brought Peyton to the hospital, she was in a crisis situation, and we didn't even know it. She had 2 heart defects. The left upper lobe of her lung had collapsed. Her liver and kidneys were not functioning properly. Her intestines were obstructed, and she was anemic. Yet through all of that, The only symptom my daughter ever had was the night before she was diagnosed. She complained of belly pain. With all the complications Peyton had, we were unbelievably limited in our options. We desperately needed the surgeons that our crisis model employed. And not only did we need their surgeons, we needed their very best surgeons. Peyton couldn't eat or drink due to the intestinal blockage. So we would do what we could non-conventionally, but we decided we would also treat Peyton conventionally to try to remove as much tumor burden as possible, as quickly as possible. But in order to be a candidate for surgery, Peyton would have to undergo 4 rounds of chemotherapy, followed by the slight possibility of the liver resection, followed by 2 more rounds of chemotherapy. But even that was a long shot, as 6 surgeons had already told us that wouldn't be possible. And in addition to the conventional treatments, we would also be treating Peyton non-conventionally. Worked hand in hand with Dr. Majors to create a plan that would work best for Peyton. I would call him relentlessly. What we settled on and determined would be the best possible plan for Peyton was a PEMF machine, a far infrared sauna, hyperbaric chamber, oxygen concentrators, IV vitamin C, selenium treatments, and of course, specific chiropractic adjustments. Over this past year, I've seen far too many kids die from cancer. I've seen firsthand the damage chemotherapy and radiation will do, not only to your body, but to your mind. It's scary. But so is being responsible for your health. But even scarier, being responsible for your child's health. At the conclusion of Peyton's 5th round of chemotherapy, her tumor marker tripled. A week later, it doubled again. So I knew, going into Peyton's final round of chemotherapy, that her treatment didn't work. I knew that Lauren and I would have the hardest decision of our lives to make. I knew what I wanted to do, but I had no idea if my wife would agree. So I asked her. And that conversation lasted 3 sentences. I asked her what she thought we should do, and she simply said, "I can't see her get any sicker." I agreed. And with that, I knew my wife and I were on the same page. I knew that we had just agreed to pull our daughter from any continuing medical care. Making a decision that can directly lead to the death of your child is something no parent should ever have to go through. From the second our plan was in place, I was confident that my daughter would not only survive, but she would thrive through her cancer diagnosis. At one point, I was even thankful that it happened to my family and not someone else's. I knew my daughter would make it through it when that other family would have no chance. I knew in my heart that my daughter was special. But all that changed at the conclusion of that 5th round. When her tumor marker tripled, I've never told anyone this, not even my wife. Getting ready for Peyton's final round, when that tumor marker tripled, I cried all night. A week later, when it doubled again, I've never cried so hard. It was the first time that I thought my daughter was going to die. All I could think about was I wouldn't get to see my daughter get on the bus to go to school. I would never get to see my daughter kick a soccer ball like her mom. I would never get to see my daughter go to prom. I would never get to walk her down the aisle. I couldn't fathom the thought of burying my daughter It was my job as her father to keep her safe, and I had failed. It was the most helpless feeling in the world. But it was at this point that Peyton's diagnosis changed for me. I would spend every moment with her. I would treat her 24 hours a day. Not for a day, not for a few days, not for a week or a month, but for as long as necessary. There is no formula to treat a 3-year-old non-conventionally. But I promised myself that I would do everything in my power to save my daughter. I would never look back and say, I wish I had tried this, or I wish we had done more of that. Through everything, what I've learned is that my family understands cancer. We know what the dining spread outside the hospital room means. My family knows what it means to be sent down to the PICU. My family knows what it feels like to finish your treatment cycle and not be cancer-free. My family knows the hurt in your heart when you get that tumor marker test back and you find out your cancer's spreading. It's a feeling I wish upon no one. Now, I'll never know if I made the right choices for my daughter or not. What I do know is my family will never be the same. Our beliefs have changed. Our exercise programs have changed. Our diets have changed. I now understand the mission and vision of Maximized Living at a level I never could have imagined before. I need to see us, Maximized Living, hit our goal of ending unnecessary suffering by changing healthcare. We need to get 34 million under care, because if we fail, there will be another Peyton, another 3-year-old diagnosed with cancer. The only difference be that family may not know the amazing power God gave her to heal. That family, they won't be living the 5 essentials. That poor little girl, she needs to be saved. During a particularly rough day, I was speaking with a close friend of mine, and he reminded me of something that I think about daily. What if, before my daughter was born, she sat down with God and they had a conversation? And God just told her, Peyton, you can live 70 or 80 years. You can live a long, healthy, happy life, but have very little impact on this world. Or Peyton, you can live 3 or 4 years, but you can impact and save thousands. Which do you choose? I pray that I would have the strength and the courage to make the same choice as her.
So that I often get asked what motivates me, and what does it. I probably have watched that 30 times since, and each and every time, I mean, it's hard not to. Cancer affects each and every one of us, and it's just unfortunately, it was a truth for me as well. Some of you might have seen this picture before. The young lady here, the third one over in the blue, that's my office manager. She passed roughly about 2-3 years ago. She had cancer that was so quick. She got diagnosed in October. She died in January. So I've made a promise to myself and to her when she was going through it that I'd help her live that legacy on for her. One of the reasons why is because I wasn't able to help her at that point. And we miss her, so I've made that promise to her, and I hope at least today I help do that for her. So we miss her, and every day. So with that being said, to end on a high note, the Cancer Killer books. The program is in effect. The next 30 days while we do these makeovers are twofold. One, for awareness, but the second is action. Do not please turn this into another talk where it's a lot of good info, nothing changed. Make change. My goal is to reach 1 million people. Whatever you learn today, help me reach that goal and pass that information on. The Cancer Killer book, in your program, you have a challenge. The other reason why we do this, because the next 30 days, it's a reminder to you of what to do. You have your training camp in here for change. It's in the back of the booklet. Over the next 30 days, if you need a game plan, this is it. Email me if you have questions, if you need a pep talk, whatever you need to get focused. Use me as a resource. My contact information is on the side. My active patients that are here, I want to see you at the Max T3 classes. We have the recipe night coming up. Stay engaged. It's why we do this stuff, for you and to keep your overall health where it was meant to be. Supplements on the way out. There's a 15% off on everything we have. The recipe night, that's another free event we have. That's going to be on November 18th. Taylor has the sign-up sheets for that. It's a potluck recipe night. You pick a recipe you want to make, and then you make that recipe. Then we all try 20 to 25 recipes off the Maximize Living Advanced Plan. It's a fun event. We do it outside of our office, and it's another way to hold you accountable just towards the end of the 30 days from the makeover from today. Last but not least, I need your help. We all have Peytons in our life. We just may not know that they are Peytons yet. You might have a father who is a Peyton. You might have a daughter, an older daughter who is a Peyton. Everyone needs to be checked. People need to hear this message. You have a pink cutout inside of here. For those who, for your businesses, to the churches that need to hear this information, we do health talks. They're free to the community. If there's any businesses you'd want us to come and talk to spread this word, leave this information on here. If you have friends or family that you're thinking about who needed to hear this, invite them to the recipe night. And you can put their name and number here as well and bring them to the recipe night. There's raffle tickets. We're doing a raffle for all these before you leave. And Nikki and Tracy will be collecting these. And then we're doing a bunch of giveaways from the raffles from today. So with that being said, have a great weekend. Pass this information on. Robin has... Steve has a winner chicken dinner. Give it up for Steve. For Steve. Yes. I would also like to acknowledge my team spent countless hours putting this together. It ran seamlessly. So to my team that is here, please, thank you. Have a great weekend. If you have any additional questions, I'll be afterwards to answer those questions. Have a blessed one, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you. Thank you.